Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm MK.
And I'm Courtney.
I'm Courtney. How are you?
I am okay. I'm very tired, but it's because I had a very productive day yesterday on my day
Yay.
off. Yay. But no, it was really great. We went and we shot Jacqueline's Tiny Desk video and it was so fun. I mean, it always is. It's great working with both Caitlin and Jacqueline. So like anytime is always a fun time. But it was really great. So both of my artists have filmed their Tiny Desk submissions now. They just have to
Yay.
submit them, but they're due next week, so
Okay.
they got time. And then we rented out a studio at Open Jar. I don't know if you're familiar with like New York studios.
Nope.
That's one of the ones like in the middle. That's
Okay.
like it's like Open Jar, Ripley Greer, and there's like one more that
Oh, I know
everyone.
Ripley there. I know
They're all
Ripley.
studios.
Ripley. Oh, I've been to
Right.
Ripley and I've been to Pearl. I don't know
Okay. So
Openjar.
Open Jar is kind of like the other alternative that people use a lot.
Okay.
And it comes out being a little bit cheaper. It's where we filmed our table reading for Unseen Artists.
Okay.
We rented out a studio for a few hours and we just like knocked out auditions. I learned I am so good with lights now. I'm adding it to my resume. I also am great at camera work if you don't listen to me breathe deeply when I focus. Because I was like, I had to do a 360 like camera shot of Noelle for one of her auditions. And I was like the whole time because I was just like so focused. It's just like, let's use the one where you don't sound like you're like having a hyperventilating while you're doing it.
Fair.
But
Fair.
but otherwise, if you don't listen to me breathe, I'm great at filming. We filmed all of it. I found all the right angle. It was very fun, very productive, and I got a lot of stuff submitted for auditions yesterday. So I'm feeling like I've made progress. And but also I'm exhausted. So it's fine. It's fine. All's well.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm 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 good. I'm interesting. Just like
You're interesting. Yes.
well, listen, I have 12 days till before my musical, so like I'm not gonna be good minimum for the next 14 days. Like that's just where we're at in life.
Fair.
But my story that I want to share is just about how sometimes life is just chef's kiss, right?
Love that.
So you don't even know the story. It's
I
beautiful.
don't. I'm ready.
So on Sundays, I usually go over to Dan's and I have dinner with him and Doug, and then his brother comes over and they have like boys' night TV night. I'm not like uninvited from the boys' night TV night part, but they're watching The Last of Us, which I did not start watching with them. Therefore, I cannot continue watching with them.
Right.
And the show it's like live on Sundays, so they
Yeah.
like actually watch it when it's on. But sometimes David will come over early and they will watch something else first. And they were going to watch Mandalorian
Mm-hmm.
before they watched it, but David misunderstood a message from Doug, and then I had to have a lecture to all three of them about how communication works. It was very funny.
Oh, good. That's
Um,
important though.
yeah, so David misunderstood a message from Doug and watched it without Dan and Doug.
Ooh,
So
he's like,
Dan and Doug are
oh.
gonna have to watch it on their own. Also, I have never watched the first two seasons of Mandalorian,
I
so I
watched
wasn't
most of the first one.
so I wasn't about to watch this with them. And usually what happens is that when they're having boys' night TV night, I lock myself in Dan's room and watch Stargate and Bates while they're watching The Last of Us. And
Love.
we just all do our TV and it's great. And then we hang out when we're not watching TV. But Doug goes, well, since we can't watch Mandalorian, I'm about to sneeze.
Bless you.
Thank you. He's like, since we can't watch Mandalorian, why don't we watch a Stargate before we watch uh Last of Us? And I was like, I don't really want to waste time watching a Stargate that I don't have to already watch. But like, I was like, what episode are you guys on? Because David's watching it for the first time. And he goes, I don't know. Eventually, you guys watching it every week are gonna catch up to us because we watch it so sporadically. And I was like, well, yeah. And he was like, but we're on, I think, the first episode of the second disc of season 3. I go, oh my God, that's the one I watched last week. And David goes, wait, but we're talking about the Blu-ray, and the Blu-ray and DVD discs aren't the same. So I said, what is the first episode on the second disc of season 3? And Doug was like, hold on, I don't remember. He was like, I think it's Dead Man Switch, but I'm not 100% sure. I go, Douglas. So he pulls the disc out and he is like, yeah, it is. It's Dead Man Switch. I go, shut up. That's the episode I have to go watch in my room right now.
And it's kind of a good replacement for not watching The Mandalorian.
Right.
Like, if you're going to not watch The Mandalorian,
yeah,
it's a replacement.
Yeah. So Doug was like, wait, are you serious? I go, yeah, season 3, episode 7. That's exactly where I'm at right now. And he was like, stop. And he goes, we're not going to pause it. Are you going to be able to take notes while we're watching it? If we don't pause it. I was like, yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be great. My notes will probably just be a little more abbreviated than they usually are in terms of like how me writing full words, because I just won't. And he was like, okay. So Dan was on his couch and David and Doug were on their couch, and I was like, I was sitting on the couch with David, and so David was like, Doug, where are you going to sit? And I was like, no, it's fine. You sit on the couch. I will sit at the desk chair at the kitchen table so that I can write notes while we're doing this. And it's great. And we all 4 watched Stargate together to take my notes, and it was great. I was with my boys watching the Stargate, and it was so funny. He was like, how did that work out that was the episode that you needed to watch?
I love that.
Serendipity.
Love that.
Yes. So we've told you the name of the episode, but before we really get into it, do you have some inspiration for us today?
Boy, do I. Boy, do I. Let's see. Look at yourself in the mirror every day and tell yourself you are beautiful until you believe it. Look into your eyes and don't give up. And this quote is from Aaliyah O'Brien, who, spoiler alert, is who we're going to be talking about as the guest star for Bates Motel in the next episode.
Interesting.
So come back if you want to hear more about Aaliyah O'Brien, who has very magical quotes.
Interesting. I'm trying to think of who that is.
Stay tuned. I'll tell you.
I know. Well, not in Bates Motel, in Stargate. We're talking about Stargate SG-1, season 3, episode 7, Dead Man Switch. It was rated 7.7 stars, which is, I think fair. Like, I enjoyed the episode. It was funny in a lot of places. Like, I think all of us laughed out loud many times.
Yeah.
But it wasn't by any means an impressive episode. It came out on August 6th, 1999. The number one song was Genie in a Bottle, again.
As it should be for the rest of all time.
And the number one book was still Hannibal.
Mm-hmm.
The number one movie is interesting because it was the day the movie came out. So for it to be number one that day is impressive.
Yeah.
But it's because the movie that premiered that day that was the number one movie of the day was The Sixth Sense.
Oh, well, I mean.
So, like,
of course.
Valid.
Have we done that one for...
We haven't. We talk about M. Night Shyamalan a lot. But
we should do for not covering The Sixth Sense.
Right. Who are we?
We'll come back to that one. Don't worry.
Another movie that premiered that day was The Iron Giant.
Those are very different films. And I remember
Very
both of them when
different
they came out.
Yes. I did not watch The Sixth Sense when it came out because
So
it was very much advertised as a like thriller, and
yeah.
7-year-old me was not about that life. So I did watch The Iron Giant in 1999. I don't think I watched The Sixth Sense until 2009.
I actually didn't watch The Sixth Sense until like 2020, but I read the book when the movie came out as a child. I remember early Courtney read the book. Around the same time
I
I was reading like Phantom of the Opera and I Know What You Did Last Summer and not watching that
yeah,
also. I read that. So
I know I watched The Sixth Sense with my uncle at my grandma's house, and I can't remember if it was right the Thanksgiving before my papa died or if it was when I was living there after my papa died. So it was either in 2009 or 2010, but
yeah.
like a solid 10 years after it came out.
Right.
So 17-year-old me could handle it a little bit better than 7-year-old me.
27-year-old me also handled it very well.
Good, it's fantastic. Another thing that happened that day, because, and let me tell you, I had to fucking dig because I could not find anything. Like, I looked at the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, every like flashback website on the internet. I looked at movie premieres and Broadway premieres. I looked at fucking everything to try to find anything that happened on this day. And apparently that was a very boring Friday because like it was just not a thing.
Because
The
everyone was watching The Sixth Sense.
Right, probably because the only thing that happened was that a nuclear waste plant in Nevada was ruled as safe, and it was the beginning of nuclear as a waste option in the United States.
Well, that's nice though.
So, like, that's a pretty significant thing, but
Right.
like
Yeah.
the actual event was not that significant in and of itself,
Right.
and I could not find. I had to dig for that fact. I was like, cool.
Love that. Love that.
But especially because I really had nothing else to talk about since it was directed by Martin Wood, written by Robert C. Cooper, and edited by Alan Lee. So, like,
Great. Yes.
the guest star is also someone you don't really have to talk about. Except for that you probably have no idea who he is.
I recognized his face and it drove me insane, but I was like, I'm not
Okay.
gonna look it up because Mary
Okay.
Kate's gonna tell me.
So the guest star who played Eris, is a man named Sam J. Jones, who is very, very, very famous for one thing. And that is because he is Flash Gordon in the cult classic film Flash Gordon. Like,
I have not seen Flash Gordon cult classic film, but I would probably know him because of that.
right, exactly. Like even people who don't like I was trying to figure out like Doug was like, I don't remember which episode that was. I go, does it help you if I tell you it's the one with Flash Gordon? He goes, vaguely. I go, and he plays a bounty hunter. He goes, oh, okay, yes, then I do know that one. But it's like, but yeah, I mean, like he's known for Flash Gordon, Ted, Jane in the Lost City, and the Code Red. But really, like in Ted, he plays himself as a cameo to the fact
I've
that he was
definitely
Flash
seen him
Gordon.
in Ted.
Yeah. But like in Ted, it's a like
Cameo.
cameo because he's Flash Gordon. Like
Right.
Flash Gordon is kind of a thing. And it's one of those things where even if you've never seen Flash Gordon, you've heard the name Flash Gordon. Everybody
Yeah.
knows that. So like it's kind of a big deal in terms of guest stars.
Yeah, I've literally never seen him in anything other than Ted. But I definitely knew who he was when I saw him.
Some fun
Like-
facts about him. Before he was an actor, he was a Marine, which
see that.
is interesting because, you know, the show's about the Marines.
Right.
And also, this is my favorite fun fact. He's the CEO of an international security company because why not?
Sure, I guess no better person.
Right. He
or
was a
something like
Marine.
that.
He was a Marine and he was Flash Gordon, so he's obviously the number one pick for international security.
I mean, he's who I would pick. I would pick him.
So that is the episode. Well, it's not. That is,
The entire episode has ended now.
I mean, to be fair, a lot of things happened in this episode, but a plot wasn't really one of them.
No. It was very much like, so you haven't watched The Mandalorian, but you've seen like was it Boba Fett was a bounty hunter?
Correct, Boba Fett, correct. Well, here's the thing about that. Here's the thing about Doug's least favorite thing about in the entire world is the fact that half of the plot of the Mandalorian actually took place in Boba Fett. Like he was like, why? They're not, because then it got even worse for him because when we went after David left, the boys decided that they would then watch Mandalorian, and I tried to stay awake, but I was like, I'm leaving. I'm done. I can't be a part of this. But they're watching the like previously on, and I go, wait a second, I saw that scene. And Doug goes, yeah, because it's not even from The Mandalorian. It's a scene from Boba Fett. Why is it in the previously on The Mandalorian?
So I've only seen the like first 3/4 of Mandalorian, and I haven't seen Boba Fett, and I'm unfamiliar. I've watched Star Wars, but I'm unfamiliar. Like if you're like, oh, everyone knows this random character in there, I'm like, I don't. But I mean, I know like Darth Vader and like Luke Skywalker and whatnot. But yeah, so I literally watching this episode, I was like, so are we like watching the alternative to The Mandalorian? So it's funny that you were talking about that.
Yeah.
So
it is an interesting episode. We start with the team walking through a forest, and Teal'c said that Goa'uld had shut down the UAV, but there's no sign of a civilization, which is very confusing to everyone else. But then they find the UAV, and it was in fact shot by a staff weapon. But then, surprise, they're trapped in a force field. Because why not? And this guy shows up, and he says his name is Eris Bach, Boch. I don't know. I know it's how it's spelled, but it's Boch, but I don't
I guess
know.
Bach.
Yeah, I don't remember him saying it. Like I know he said it, but I don't remember him saying it, so I don't remember how to pronounce it. But Eris shows up because his name is that's his name, and that their weapons are not going to work inside of the force field, but his weapons will shoot through the force field, and he just shoots like this close to Teal'c's face, and Teal'c does not flinch.
No.
Even a little bit.
He has like no concept of immediate reaction. He's just like, this I know for a fact is not going to injure me. It's fine.
Yeah. And they're like, who are you? And he's like, oh, I know who you are. And then he says all of their names, except for he calls Sam a captain. And I was like, rude.
You obviously don't know who they are.
Right. You missed the promotion, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
And then that is the credits. So, confusing. Oh, now watching The Mandalorian.
Right. I did not know we were watching The Mandalorian until after the credits when we got more details, but yes, correct.
Yeah. So Eris is a bounty hunter, and he tells them to drop their weapons, and that he has disabled the gate, so even if they tried to defeat him, they wouldn't be able to leave. So better not waste your energy trying to fight. And he walks them down into the middle of like a field, and then like a doorway just appears, and they go inside the door, and it's like a fancy ass looking building that is in fact a spaceship.
Yes. I literally was like, at this point, I was like, I feel like I'm having to get all of my like stars separated. We have the Star Wars idea that we're taking from the Boba Fett that we're putting into Stargate, not Star Trek. So I was just like separating all the stars worlds in my head. Not that I know any of them, which probably made it wrong when I actually did separate it in my head, but that was my approach when I started it.
Beautiful. But So he locks them up and makes them prisoners. And Sam is like, here's the thing. That guy, not a gold. And Jack's like, cool. What great. So he's a different asshole. Like I don't know. We're already prisoners. What do you
I also want you to know you are really good at saying Goa'uld.
Thanks.
You do a great job of it. You're welcome.
Thanks. I've been practicing for 23 years.
Yeah, well, you nailed it. You made it.
Um, it's honestly the reason I'm so good at saying it is because I say it correctly every single time I write it because otherwise I won't put the vowels in the correct order. So when I'm
Yes.
writing it down, I literally go wold like so that I have the OAU in the correct order.
Yes. I don't do that. I spell it correctly, but I think it differently every time I think of it. So
Well, that's just because some days you're Jack and some days you're Daniel and some days you're General Hammond because they for
Absolutely.
sure all say it differently.
Yes. I like to change up my days.
Yeah. And Jack's like, cool, we're gonna steal the ship. And he's like,
He's just
how
so matter
fast?
of fact about it.
Yeah. And he's like, how fast does the ship go? And Teal'c was like, well, twice the speed of light. And he's like, great, we'll take it home. And Sam goes, sorry to be the bearer of bad news here, my dude, but even at that speed, that's 10 years
Right.
before we get home. And Jack's dumbass just goes, well, I should have let the dog out.
I felt like the whole time, like now that you say sometimes I'm Jack, sometimes Daniel Jackson, and sometimes Captain Hammond. Literally this entire episode, I was like the like quips and like so just not caring and just like reacting to things that should be more important as not important is how I feel so hard today and how I felt for the past like 4 days. And I was like, I've never felt more like Jack. Never.
Right. No, and he just like was like he was like too damn old for this shit.
Yeah.
Basically, like that was his attitude towards everything.
Felt that.
Towards absolutely everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the hunter comes back, the bounty hunter comes back on the ship, and he's injured. And he's like, what did
you say?
He's injured?
Oh, you said bounty hunter.
Oh, yes, the bounty
You said
hunter.
it so quickly, it sounded like mind hunter, and I was like, those are not the same thing.
No, they're not. Jonathan Groff was not in Stargate.
Oh. I am so sorry for all of my outtakes for today, but
wonderful. But so Eris is injured, and he's like, I could kill you, but I need you, so I won't.
Right.
And then he's like, Dr. Jackson, I need you to clean my wound. And Daniel's like, I'm an archaeologist. And he goes, yes, I know, but you're also a doctor. He goes, of archaeology.
I lost my mind. I just wrote down of archaeology.
No, mind you, I'm watching this with Doug, who has seen every episode of the show like 50 times.
Right.
Dan, who is Daniel Jackson.
Right.
And David, who has never seen the show, but his sense of humor is even darker and drier than the other three of us, which is saying something.
I feel like me and David would get along.
Oh, you and David would get along so well. You and David would get along so well, except that David does not drink or swear.
I'd be okay with that. Does he drink coffee?
I don't actually know. I don't know if I've ever seen him drink coffee.
That's a very, very important question to ask because like I don't have to drink alcohol with people, but I do have to drink coffee with people. Like
that's valid. I mean, that's valid.
That would make or break our friendship.
I swore in front of David for the first time yesterday, and I felt Dan just like
for the first time. Have you spoken in front of him before?
I'm so careful in front of his family. I do not swear in front of Dan's family at all. But I was talking about Edward Norton, and I just go because I fucking hate that guy. And I just felt Dan just like bug eye.
That's so
David did not even
funny.
react. He just was like, well, yeah, I mean, that character is really, and I was like, oh, thank God. Because I didn't even notice it until I saw Dan, like, sniffing.
React.
And then I was like,
Physically
and then I
react.
just go, oh my God, I never sworn in front of David before. I did warn David that if he were to listen to my podcast, he would have to be prepared for that. But I'd never actually sworn in front
That's so funny.
But so yeah, the Jack and Daniel quips in this episode were just they were
What life is made, what dreams are made of.
correct.
Lizzie McGuire.
Yeah, exactly. And then he's like, and he was like, well, you're a doctor to Sam, and she goes, okay, like also no, but like closer than Daniel. So like we'll just
closer.
Of the four of us, I'm the one with the most ability to not fuck this up.
Right.
So like I will.
Right.
And he was like, I'm actually here hunting a Goa'uld named Keltar. So you guys are just like a bonus. Because there's also a bounty on you guys. Because you know, here. And they were like, who, a bounty for who? And he was like, well, Sokar pays at me when I bring him his enemies. So, you know, he's a bounty hunter, like working for the most powerful fucked up Goa'uld system lord in the whole galaxy. It's totally fine.
Totally fine, yeah. Totally.
But the best part is that he's like, well, Teal'c is worth a lot because he is Nasholva, like he is a traitor. He is kind of a big deal. Sam is worth a lot because she has the memories of Jolinar in her head and could like dismantle the entire Tok'ra. So like kind of a big deal.
Right.
Jack, not as valuable as those two, but pretty valuable because he's a fucking asshole.
He's a pain in the mikta. And he goes, neck? And Joe just goes, no.
Yeah, so we have now learned the Goa'uld word for ass, and it is mikveh. So, in case you needed to know.
Right. In case you need some new terminology.
And Daniel's like, well, what about me? And he's like, I'm sure they'd give me a day's ration.
Poor Daniel Jackson.
Poor Daniel Jackson. And so he's like, okay, so this is what's going to happen. You guys are going to help me get Keltar, and then I'll let you go. And they're like, we really don't want to. And he's like, funny thing is, you really don't have a choice.
You're going to have to.
So then he tells Daniel and Jack to go with him and leaves Teal'c and Sam on the ship. And the boys were confused by this fact. And I immediately was like, because he just said they're the two more valuable ones, and if this gets screwed up, he still has something to sell to Sokar. Well, how did you guys miss that?
Right. I was
like, that was obvious.
Yeah.
And
like, sure, Jack probably wouldn't immediately think that way. But like,
no, I'm saying the boys I was with seemed to miss that fact.
Oh.
And I was like, you guys are too smart to have like not put those pieces together.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, you're not meticulously writing down every word that they're saying in the screen while you're watching, but like
figure it out.
Right.
Like, that one's not a hard one to remember.
Correct. So then they're walking through the woods, they're talking about what they're going to do, and the plan is for Jack and Daniel to surrender themselves to the Goa'uld, and surprise him and shoot him with the Zat gun so that Eris can kidnap him. Mm-hmm. And Jack's like, there's only one major flaw in this plan. And Eris is like, what? He's like, I don't fucking have a Zat gun.
Right. He's like, what do you say? We're one Zat gun short of a Zat gun.
Asleep.
Yeah.
Um, but I also loved one of my favorite things was the fact that the was it when they were like he called it a Zatnikatel. He like used the full word and he's like a Zatnikatel and Daniel or and Jeff's like a Zat gun. He's like, oh well, I guess that is shorter.
Yeah.
Which is funny because then later he had a whole other one.
Everyone's trying to use really long words, and Jack is not having it.
No. Um, so he gives Jack the Zat gun, and Eris gives it to him, and then he just shoots Eris and walks off. And he's like, "We're going to steal that ship."
Look, it's not like the worst plan. It's not a
Right.
good plan, but it's not the worst plan.
And then this is when they're walking and talking about their plan. Um, the when they first said that they were gonna fly, it was gonna take 10 years. Uh, Dan was like, why don't they just fly to the closest planet that has a gate and go home? And I was like, they don't necessarily know where all the planets are. They don't know what they're doing. But then they're walking and talking about their plan to steal a ship, and Jack is like, we'll just fly to the closest planet that has a gate. Dan was like, yes, I called it. I was like, all right, we win that one.
Well, you are right up Jack's smart level now, so take that as you will, Dan.
So they get back into the ship after a disagreement about how words work and opening magic doors. And they get back into the ship and accidentally set off a self-destruct panel.
Because, what else would you do?
And so through the door, with no visual aid, they're trying to get Teal'c to explain to them how the cool spaceships work. And he's like, there's a panel, and if you open it, there's 3 crystals inside. And Daniel's like, actually, there's only 2 crystals inside. And Teal'c goes, well, then we're all gonna die. There is no other option.
Right.
Great. Fabulous. And Eris shows back up at this moment, and Jack tries to shoot him again. And he's like, why on earth would I give you a weapon that could kill me? Like, I don't trust you. You don't trust me. They're like, well, then why'd you pretend to get hurt? He goes, because I wanted to see what you guys came up with.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Just matter of factly.
Yeah. And then he puts the 3rd crystal back and stops them from dying.
Which is great. It's nice
Yeah.
when you don't die.
And he's like, I still need you guys to get this gold for me. The deal is not off. I just trust you less now.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, but your plan sucks. And he's like, okay, so then what are you gonna do about it? They're like, well, let us get our stuff. So he does. Because, he is not stupid. Like, he's a lot, you
Right.
could say a lot of things about him, but like being stupid isn't really one of them.
Right.
And he tells them that the Goa'uld invaded his planet and tried to make them hosts, and for some reason their bodies rejected the blending process, and so instead they basically killed everyone or kidnapped them and made them slaves. And he says that his son is a slave in one of the Naquadah mines, and he's basically doing this until he can get enough money to trade for his son.
Right.
And so he keeps Sam as leverage and lets the other 3 go off to find Keltar.
Mm-hmm.
And they're searching for the cave, and Teal'c explains what tacks are. Again, they have a very, very long name that is not tax. But it was too long, and I was not with people who would pause it for me. So,
Fully fair.
and they're basically heat-seeking remote weapons, so that they could basically can like make staff shots from multiple places at once.
Hmm.
Um, they find out for sure that they're heat-seeking by throwing a flare at them, which is one way to do it.
One way to do it for sure.
And they find them and destroy them all. And then they find the Goa'uld in the cave, but it turns out his name is not Keltar, it's Korra, and he is Tok'ra.
Plot twist.
Um, so while the boys are dealing with Korra, Sam is talking to Eris about how like they can help him get his son, and they'd like to be able to experiment on him and find out why he's immune to the like Goa'uld, and like just having this whole conversation with him. We flash back to the boys, and they're talking to Korra and find out that Eris's plan is probably actually to trade all 5 of them and the ship back to Sokar. Yay!
Yay.
Who trusts a bounty hunter?
No one
Unless they're Dog the bounty hunter, I would trust him.
still would not trust him. He's so
But
like got such a rough voice.
there's no ice in paradise, brah.
Jesus Christ. No, please. I cannot. I cannot.
Sam is telling Eris that he should learn about the Tok'ra and help use them to help defeat the Goa'uld. And he's like talking about how all Goa'uld, no matter what they are the same. And like Sam calls him out on his bullshit and asks him for the second time, because I didn't write a note the first time because I didn't think it was important, what the blue thing that he is putting in his water is.
I also didn't think it was important until the second time. So
the first time was when he was with just Daniel and Jack.
mhm.
Back down with Korra, we learned that Eris does not have a wife or son. That was
Liar.
just a lie. That was just a straight lie.
Yes.
But he has an addiction to Rashna, which is what the blue stuff that he puts in his water is. And basically everyone of his race has an addiction to the substance because it was in the water in their planet. And now in order to keep them as slaves to the Goa'uld, to make them to make up for the fact that they can't be hosts, basically the Goa'uld trade them this Rashna for their services, whether it
I
be
hope
mine.
that they were just drinking blue Powerade. Like, how fun would that be if they were just like, here, you're addicted to this. They're like, what is it? And they're like, but really it tastes like blue Powerade, but we're just gonna call it this other thing.
The first time he put it in his drink and they asked him what it was, David goes, "It's Mio's."
Yeah.
And then the second time when he put it in his drink and Sam asked him what it was and he was like, "It's water." And she was like, "Then what's the blue stuff?" He was like, "Flavor." He was like, "See, I told you it was Mio."
Only about 15 years off. 10
Just
years off.
something like that. I don't know.
Not 99.
No.
Also, you
And
want you to know when you were like, David said it was Mios. I was like, I don't remember them saying Mios. Who's David? And then I was like, wait.
yes,
This is
David.
real life happening.
Yes, the Triple D. That's what they call them when David, Doug, and Dan do things together. It's Triple D.
Love that for them.
I just invade the boys' space all the time. I'm like, I'm here now.
I love it. They probably need it. It's probably good for them.
They don't know how to communicate. So
Happens.
so we find out that Eris gets the Rashna from Sokar by like trading both guilty and innocent people, and he really doesn't even care. He has no value for human life because he has such a terrible, terrible addiction, which is really like powerful and impactful and true about addiction in general, and like so brushed over in this episode.
Shocking. We've got another big statement on like humanity.
Right.
What episode did we watch last week?
The learning curve. with like changing the cultures about
Right.
yeah.
Yes.
Stargate keeps just being like, by the way, fuck society,
Right.
but moving on and like not addressing it at all.
Like, just want you to know this is still existing, but now we're gonna keep going.
Right. Um, and so then Cora has them drop their weapons because it turns out the Eris is tracking them through their Zat guns because he has some kind of weird Naquita tracking
Mhm.
thing. Um,
Like,
and when
I just assume at this point, Naquadah literally is just like a kind of a catch-all. It's
yeah,
like the universal remote of life.
right. It's like how in like the Marvel or the DC universe, like anytime there's something that has like crazy powers and you don't know how where it came from, there's probably kryptonite in it somewhere.
Yeah.
Like it's just like
Right.
no matter what it's made out of, it's probably that.
Right.
Like Naquadah can do everything.
Yes, yes. I love it.
Um, or like, oh, what's the one? Vibranium in the Marvel universe. Like
Yes.
everything
Mhm.
just has vibranium in it. If
Mhm.
it has weird powers, that's probably why.
Yes.
Um, so then when Eris figures out that they must be onto him because they dropped their weapons. Oh, and we also find out that the reason he kept Sam, not Teal'c, for his like uh leverage was because Sam would be able to recognize whether Cora was actually Tok'ra or not, because Jolinar's
Yes.
memories. Um,
I assumed whenever it first happened, I assumed he kept Sam over Tilk because she was the one that was the doctor that could heal him. So I didn't even like
Valid, which is a
look
valid
at the thing.
assumption, but nope, it turns out it's because Tok'ra. So Eris just shoots her. That's Zach
Yep.
gun.
Well, yeah.
But I
She's
mean,
like,
he does
great.
only shoot her once.
Which is nice. I mean, not nice, but like
Yeah. I
not murdery
also
at least.
I would like a solid like definition of how long you have to go between
Ugh,
Zat gunshots before it's the second shot that
death.
kills you. Like,
Right.
because Daniel's definitely been shot more than twice.
Oh, oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, is it like a day? Is it a month?
Is it an
Is it a
hour?
year? Is it an hour? Like, what
Yeah.
is the time frame on I can no
You should
longer be
Google it. Have
killed?
you Googled it yet?
I have not Googled it yet. I should do
That's
that.
your next homework because I'm scared to
I was just
Google
like
anything.
hoping that it would be explained.
Told at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I
I could
don't,
explain it. I think it is 47 minutes.
that's
And that is that. As long as you wait 47 minutes, you're not dying.
cool. What if you wait like 46 minutes and 45 seconds?
No death, immediate death.
Fair. Okay. You gotta be really careful.
Yep.
So, like, for safety, probably wait 48.
Right, right. Just in case.
Cool.
Yeah.
Jack or the rest of the team sees Sam laying down and they like know it's a trap, but Jack can't help himself and he goes after her. And then Eris just appears in the middle of thin air on the spaceship,
Yeah.
like weirdly. And then Jack and Sam wake up on the ship because Sam apparently passed out again, but she corroborates the story and recognizes like Cora with
Cora.
her memories. Um, and Eris shows back up with the other three on the ship and is like, I'm keeping my side of the bargain. You're all free to go except for the Goa'uld. And Cora decides to just poison himself rather than be taken into Sokar. Um,
Which like is kind of
so noble and so obviously
yeah.
something a Tok'ra would do, but like also felt very aggressive.
Also sucks. Yeah.
And in the moment when he like finds the poison in his mouth, it's the first time that like Eris actually recognizes that the Tok'ra aren't like the Goa'uld at all. And
Right.
so he's like, well, I already called Sokar and said that I was here. So I got to turn somebody in. And Teal'c volunteers as tribute. and lets the others go.
Hmm.
Uh, Eris gives them the missing piece of the DHD and keeps Teal'c on the ship so that he can give them to Sokar. Uh, and then Eris and Teal'c are like in the ship getting ready to like go meet Sokar's ship in orbit. And he's like, why would you do that? And Teal'c's like, because I believe in the Tok'ra and the humans and I want them to defeat the Goa'uld. And Eris is like, I just don't believe that they actually stand a chance. But like, he's basically like, I'm doing this because I don't think that there is an alternative, not because I
Right.
enjoy it or want to do it. I also do have some morals. It's just desperation and fear.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you know, um, they blow up the ship, and everybody else on land is like really upset because they think Teal'c's dead.
But it lasts
Um,
for about 1.5 seconds.
yeah, it lasts a very short time because then we see the escape pods land, and
But this was like
uh,
the fastest turnaround of like, okay, I give myself up. It's like you like snap and it's over. Like
yeah,
I was like,
um,
okay, that's fine.
and and then we he basically like is like Sokar will think we're dead in the ship explosion. No one will know that we're here. That'll buy us some time. And then he gives Sam a vial of the Rashna so that she can study it and attempt to help get his people freedom
Yeah.
from their addiction.
Yeah, and like this ending just kind of felt sudden.
It
Mm.
did. It
And
did
not
feel
like a like climax and like da 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 kind of way. It was just like, here's the episode, we're going along. Shit blows up, episode's over. Like it
yeah.
was
Yeah. It
sudden.
was
It really caught me off guard.
and I was really starting to think it was had to be a two-parter because
Right.
we were like getting so close to the end without a resolution.
Hmm.
Um, and there, the idea of this species and the Rashna and that is not necessarily done, but Eris is not going to be in the show ever again.
Oh, that's a bummer. I
It is a
will be
bummer.
Flash Gordon.
But also there's a canon like graphic novel that is just called SG1 Eris Bug, and I have never read it, but it exists.
And he's only in one episode.
Yep.
Wow, that was a really big takeaway. When were the
Actually,
books
there's
written?
I don't even know. Um, yeah, but there are three pieces of trivia, and then I think there might be some goofs as well, but
Ooh, okay.
um, that is so dumb. I like to do the goofs first because they're dumb.
Right.
One says as a continuity error, and when Samantha Carter and Eris Book are talking about the difference between the Goa'ulds and the Tok'ra, Boak's holster switches between his left and right thighs.
Sure.
Dumb. This is incorrectly regarded as a goof. Hmm. When the cargo ship with Boak and Teal'c explodes far off in the sky, the sound makes Jack and Daniel look around and then see the ship explode. There appears to be an inconsistency between the travel of sound and the light. Light should travel faster than sound, so you should see and then hear the blast. But upon closer inspection, you hear two separate explosions
Mm.
interspersed by the sight of the ship exploding. It can be surmised that the first explosion sound is the self destruct device, which is the small explosive device inside the
Right.
ship, and then which creates a cascade explosion by igniting something such as the ship's fuel supply and creating the full explosion. SG-1 looks around when they hear the first smaller explosion, which has no visible blast from our viewpoint, followed by seeing the ship explode and then hearing the second blast.
Okay, interesting.
Science.
Science.
The trivia though.
Fun fact, the graphic novel for Eris Bach came out in 2004.
Okay.
Like, this was a really big canon comic taken off of one episode.
Yeah, there's another one actually. I'm trying to think because I was looking up something yesterday because Doug was like, he doesn't come back, does he? And I was like, no, it's just dumb. But he is featured in the graphic novel called Eris Book, and there's another. Oh, he's also in another graphic novel or another novelization called Siren Song.
Interesting.
Which was published by Fandemonium, which is a private company in the UK that has done all of the SG-1 novels.
Nice.
Yeah. And so he was in one episode and was featured in another book and got a whole graphic novel based off of his character.
Yeah, I mean, it probably didn't hurt that he was Flash Gordon, but like,
right. But also, like, that's a fascinating character.
it is.
You could do so much with what happened before he met the team and with what happens after.
Sure.
But trivia: Sam Jones played Flash Gordon in the 1980 movie of the same name.
I'm shocked.
I'm shocked. This is the first episode to introduce the Teltac, which is better known as a Goa'uld cargo ship. That's the ship they were on.
Got it.
We've seen other ships, but never the cargo ship. And this is the first episode of the series not to have a Stargate in it.
Oh, you're right. That one is a fun fact.
As I saved that one for last because it is.
Good job.
Also, this is a trivia fact that I probably should have talked about a long, long, long time ago, but I didn't remember it until Doug reminded me yesterday. The theme song of Stargate was only put in syndication. The first.
I think you said that.
Oh, did I say that when we did our season 1 wrap up?
I think so.
Okay. Because I didn't remember it. And then Doug said something about the Statue of Ra picture, and I was like, I think you're right. I don't know, but that lack of theme song was for the first 5 seasons.
A long time.
That's a long time, especially because that is the most badass theme song of all time. It's my alarm clock in the morning.
Yes.
So yeah. Speaking of badasses, I guess. I don't know. It's really hard because there's literally only 6 characters in the whole episode.
Yeah.
So who would you like to punch?
Sokar.
Oh, I didn't even consider Sokar.
No question. Sokar.
Fair.
All of this is his fault. So
valid. Very, very valid. I'm gonna punch Eris. I mean, because he comes around, but he's kind of a douche for most of the episode.
True. And even when he comes around, he should have just sacrificed himself instead of being like, well, I gotta give somebody else up. Like,
yeah, but then he wouldn't have been able to give Sam the Rashna.
Do it fast.
Who is your MVP?
Teal'c.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They all kind of like were on the same level for me, I feel like, but
yeah, they were pretty.
He sacrificed himself at the end, and
that's true.
He really understood everything that was happening, and like was like, I get it. I see why this has to be this way, and it's very logical. The whole episode.
Sorry, I just was looking at some of the quotes because there was some good ones. We talked about a lot of them, but some of the best ones we didn't talk about were when Sam asked Eris how he keeps from getting killed, and he said it takes talent, and Jack just goes, "So how do you keep
Right.
from getting killed?" And then when they're trying to remember the name of the type of ship, and Jack just starts shouting B words and then just goes, "Beetlejuice." Yeah, the
I
quotes in
also
this.
liked at the end, right before it ended, they were Eris told Daniel, he's like, you probably are the most well regarded and want like that they're after because you did figure out how the Stargate works. And Daniel's like, that doesn't make me feel better.
Yeah. Um, so because you picked Teal'c and he really is the real winner here, but my MVP is going to be Jack because he was just on fucking top of his game with quotes. Especially the fact that actually the quote at the beginning when Sam was like, "Sir, he's not gold," and he like was like, "What are your point is?" He literally just goes, "And so." But therefore, and just starts like saying fucking conjunctions in a row for no reason. And I was like, what is happening?
It was wild.
Yeah, so I will pick Jack because
Great
I do not
choice.
understand. I do not understand. Yeah, but Stargate, man. What a time to be alive.
Man.
I wanted to say that we're getting to the middle, but like we're not even at the halfway point of the season yet. Let's be very real here. It is this episode, this season has
Just
22
another day.
episodes. I don't know if there's any season that has less than 22 episodes.
I don't think there is. It's just another day in Stargate land.
Oh, season 8 only has 20.
Oh, but that's
So
like,
does season 9,
but that's like also when
and so does season
Atlantis
10.
came out, right?
Yes.
So we're gonna have more than 22, just with two shows. Correct. Yes.
It's a good time. It's a time. It is
I would start singing some Taylor Swift if it wouldn't cost me $1,000,000.
facts. You know what else? You know what doesn't cost $1,000,000? Those
Following
I
and
tried. I
supporting
tried.
this. That was
Yes,
great. No, I love
supporting.
it.
No, it doesn't cost $1,000,000 to support us. Like, follow, subscribe, interact, do all the things that you would do if you actually cared about artists or your friends, or I don't know. What do people like beg on their YouTube and their podcasts and their everyone like if you like press that share button or whatever. I'm like, just somebody fucking talk to me. I don't make any
Right.
money on this podcast.
No. We just love the podcast and we love you.
Yeah.
Probably.
But you can do all those things that you would do to support us by emailing us at deathandaliens@gmail.com or following us on all social media at Death and Aliens. You can follow me personally at EMKAY_superstar.
And you can follow me at CE Cloud 13.
And tune in on Thursday for the penultimate episode ever
Oh, the whole series.
of Bates Motel.
I'm so excited. And so like devastated at the same time. It's
Yeah.
fine.
It's fine. Shit is getting wild. All right.
I'm gonna cry.
Bye. Oh, don't cry.
I'm gonna do it. Bye.
Bye.